Hello everyone, my name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. Woo! Okay, so if you're one of my regular viewers, you may notice that a bunch of my reviews were kind of recorded out of order. And that was to give me a break from having to talk about Van Halen for a little bit, because I've still got a few more Van Halen albums I need to get through, and I needed a break, especially after listening to this album to do this review, because this one was really kind of complicated. I'm talking about Van Halen 3. And the reason why this album was complicated to do is it's actually not a bad album. It's just the wrong album from this band at this time. Now, what makes this album so complicated is Sammy Hagar had a falling out with Van Halen while they were working on the Greatest Hits album, and then the band ended up bringing in David Lee Roth to finish off the Greatest Hits album. And then they fell out with David Lee Roth as well right away afterwards. So they go to record another album after they released their first Greatest Hits, the Great Van Halen Volume 1. And they now have to get a new vocalist, so they go and they get Gary Cherone from Extreme. Problem is, Gary Cherone really sounds like Sammy Hagar. Not entirely like Sammy, you can tell them apart, but it sounds like, he sounds like kind of, if you wanted to get Sammy Hagar, but you couldn't get Sammy Hagar, so you got Gary Cherone. That's kind of how this feels. And that's horrible, because Gary Cherone's a good vocalist. Enjoy Gary Cherone as a vocalist, Okay, so let's get into the music here now that I've covered all that. I'm still Team Sammy, by the way. Not Team Van Hagar, I just mean Team Sammy. Okay. So, the album opens up with New World. Fun instrumental track opens up the album. Kind of reminds me of Jack White's solo material, but clearly this came out before Jack White's solo material, so, there's that. But I don't think Jack White took any inspiration from this at all. More kind of just, Van Halen took inspiration from the same spots that Jack White does. That's how I honestly rate that. I've never heard Jack say anything about being a Van Halen fan. Okay, so then we're into Without You. This one literally sounds like you got rid of Sammy Hagar to bring in a Sammy Hagar impersonator. Like everything I was talking about at the beginning, that's really, really present on Without You. Like, this totally feels like it's a Sammy song. What I Want. This song would have been really popular in the 80s when the Police would have first done it. I give Van Halen points for trying to do something different, sort of. And different, at least for Van Halen. It's got kind of that reggae sort of sound in there that the Police were famous for stealing. This kind of, I don't want to say that this is Van Halen doing the Police. This is just Van Halen doing what the Police would have done when the Police were doing it, but Van Halen doing their variation of it. That's really how that feels to me. From Afar, once again, I gotta, reiterate how much I get annoyed by Cherone sounding like Hagar. And it does really make it hard to give a fair assessment on some of these songs. And it is a shame, because every song up until this point has actually been pretty decent. The thing is, for as decent as all the songs have been on this album, they're weirdly not, it's just weirdly not feeling like a Van Halen album, It's still, still being very much like Sammy was supposed to be there. They get really experimental. They kind of play around with stuff a little bit, and that's great. You know, you really want to hear that, and but at the same time, it's like, like this one, for example, totally plays with the drumming, which is awesome. Absolutely play. But the thing is the drumming's not played in a keeping tempo kind of way. It's not played in like a Hot for Teacher opening kind of way where, you know, the drumming's being played in a very instrument kind of way. You know, proper percussion instrument, not a just let's keep the tempo going thing. And it's really cool, but it really at the same time, not Van Halen. Yeah, I rambled, and that's kind of how it feels. All right, Dirty Dog Water is all right, I guess. Sort of, it's okay-ish. Once, it's a ballad. Not as good as the previous ballad Without You. You know, whatever. Josephina. Generally don't like songs with names with women's names in the title. There's a few I don't mind. If there's usually a woman's name along with something else in the title, it's usually a little more enjoyable. But usually, if it's just the woman's name in the title, it's a pretty safe bet I'm not going to be a big fan of the song. Josephina is no exception to that rule. Nope. Year Today. Not the right song to follow after Josephina. This particular song is too slow for the first 2-ish minutes. It really kind of... Then when it does start getting heavy, it's still a very slow heavy. This would have been perfect as an album closer. It's epic length, has great building, soloing, musicianship is, you know, just through the roof on this one. I will absolutely include this one on mixtapes I put together in the future, including, you know, putting together a best of Van Halen package. I would definitely put Year Today in there. Really good that way, but not the right song after Josephina. Primary, it's an instrumental screw around, nothing special, yeah, whatever. Ballad or Bullet, meh. And How Many Say I? It's a decent enough song, but not the one I would have closed the album with, as I've already stated. This album's always going to be a punchline. Gary Sharon's time in Van Halen is sadly always going to be a punchline, and it's purely because he was not the right vocalist the band should have went with. They were smart. When they picked up Sammy Hagar, Sammy was a completely different vocalist than David Lee Roth was, which was one of the things that made the transition work and brought that new energy, new life to the band. If they had gotten another vocalist that was just like David Lee Roth, or another, we'll say one of the hair vocalists, you know, if they had scooped someone from one of the other bands or something like that, I think it would have been a wrong choice. Whereas going with Sammy and going with someone that was more of a proper rock vocalist, I think, not just a flamboyant showman, used car salesman that David Lee Roth is. I think that really made a difference. This album, going from Sammy Hagar to sounds like Sammy Hagar, it really hurts both Van Halen and Gary Sharon, and I think that is a shame because it shouldn't. Very talented artist, very talented band, should have been different. I really think they should have went for a different vocalist altogether, maybe found someone that could do in between Sammy and David even, so, you know, at least for touring purposes. I would actually like to see a proper concert, proper recorded concert with good quality sound on it from Gary Sharon in the band, having to do both sets of songs, but, you know, it is what it is. Okay, folks, that's it. I'm done. Not doing any more reviews for Van Halen for at least another 2 weeks. Sorry. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. On your way down, there's a link to Patreon. Feel free to click on that. Project Zero Hour Prototype will have stuff uploading there soon, worth checking out, but only my subscribers can get access to that. Like button, subscribe button, bell for notifications, Rumble stuff, locals, peace, love, take care.